Hi everyone, it's Linnea for LDRS Creative, and I have another video showing off the Thoughtful All Occasions Rub-On transfers. Now, I have another video on the LDRS Creative YouTube channel showing how to use these, as well as a more in-depth video where I take you through what's included in this bundle of rub-on transfers. Today I'm going to use one of the gold rub-on transfer sentiments along with the Merry Christmas inlay stamps to create a really quick and easy Christmas card with just a bit of stamping and then some die cuts layered on top of a card base. I'm going to start by choosing the sentiment that I want along with the stamped scene that I want. So I'm going to grab my stamp set out, and then I like to keep the LDRS packaging in with my stamp sets so that I can see exactly what I need to stamp. And I'm going to stamp this half wreath, this kind of little flourish with the deer in the bottom. I liked having that in the bottom right hand corner of a die cut piece that I can add to my card front, and I thought that this in the right hand corner would leave me just enough space up in the top left corner for a sentiment, and that would kind of create a nice little circular effect with the stamping in the bottom right and then the sentiment in the top left, and it would just look really pleasing and complete a card nicely. I'm going to look at the sheet of Christmas rub-on transfers and choose a sentiment that's going to fit best up in that top left-hand corner. Once I've chosen my sentiment, I'm going to make sure that I'm holding all of the pieces together, the backer sheet as well as the front sheet that has the rub-on transfer on it. I'm going to hold them together and cut out my desired sentiment. Then I'm just going to hold this over and make sure it's going to fit, and it is. So I'm going to go ahead and start my stamping. I'm going to start with the base layer, which is this wreath, and I'm stamping this in a nice green color, and I'll stamp it a couple of times just to make sure that I get a nice even layer of color. Then I'm going to come in with a darker green ink pad and just ink up a few of the leaves to kind of give it some dimension. Since wreaths aren't flat, I wanted to bring in some darker color here and there to really build up that saturation. Once I'm finished with the greenery, I can go ahead and clean my stamp, and then I'm going to pop in the deer. And you can see that there's a nice little kind of empty area down in that bottom right hand corner that is perfectly going to fit that deer. I'm stamping him with a lighter brown ink, and then I'm going to come in just at the bottom on his legs and fade up a darker brown ink up into his body to give me that same look of depth and dimension that I used with the greenery on the wreath. So I'll just stamp that once or twice and just give that some nice dimension, and then I'm going to stamp the flowers at the bottom left and top right, and I'm using 2 shades of red ink to do that as well, again just for some extra shading. You don't have to do this, but I do think it's a nice touch. Now I'm ready for my sentiment, so I'm going to go ahead and remove the backer sheet. That's just garbage. And then I'm going to place the sentiment down onto my panel right where I want it to be. I'm going to just kind of hover and move this around until I'm sure I have it in the right place, and then I can press that down onto my cardstock and transfer this. Now there's a couple ways that you can transfer your sentiment onto your project. You can use a bone folder like I'm going to do, or you can use the pressure from your die cutting machine. If you choose to use your bone folder, you want to be very careful to make sure you rub over all of the areas to make sure you get a nice and even transfer. If you use your die cutting machine, you're just going to use the plates on your machine that you would use for cutting wafer thin dies, but all you're going to do is just keep your plates the same and add your panel, your project with the rub-on transfer into your plate system and run it through. No die cutting or anything, but just run it through as you would a die, and the pressure from the rollers in your machine is going to press over the rub-on sentiments and give you a nice and even transfer. I'm just going to use a bone folder since I had one sitting on my desk, and I'm going to go over each of the areas and just press that into my cardstock panel. Then when I go to remove the backer, I'm going to go very slowly, especially since this isn't a clear sheet. I'm removing it slowly and holding it in place so that if I missed an area, I can easily pop that back down and rub over it again. Now this is real foil that I'm transferring to my card, so if you find you have any flecks or like a shadow of gold left on your card, just grab a cloth, or I had long sleeves on and I found that to be nice and handy. I'm just going to use that to lightly buff away any of that gold color that might be on my cardstock. The entire backer sheet of the rub-ons has gold foil on it, but it's only going to stick and adhere where the sentiment is, so you can easily buff away any extra shadow that might be left on your project. Now I'm just going to layer this up onto some gold cardstock and then a red card base that I spattered with gold ink, and this card is finished. These sentiments are a great way to add a finishing, shining touch to your Christmas cards and so many other occasions with that thoughtful all-occasion rub-on sentiment set. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you soon. Bye!